Have you ever looked at his software project and just wondered why some totally crush it while others, well, they become these spectacular failures after years of work? A huge piece of that puzzle is how they're built. So today, we're going to dive deep into the Agile model, which, let's be real, completely revolutionized the software industry. By the end of this, you are going to get why it's so incredibly dominant. Let's do this.
So, to really appreciate why Agile was such a massive breakthrough, we have to take a little trip back in time. Just picture this. You spend months, maybe even years, building something based on this super rigid, upfront plan. You're right at the finish line, and the customer casually says, can we just change this one little thing? Well, with the old way of doing things, like the waterfall model, that little thing could literally send the entire project into a nosedive, completely blowing up the budget and the timeline. It was a huge problem.
And here's what that difference looks like. On one side, you've got the waterfall model. Think of it like a strict one-way staircase. If you make one tiny mistake down on step one, the whole thing can just crumble by the time you get to the top. But then you have Agile, which is this continuous loop. It's not about having one perfect master plan from the start. No way. It's all about adapting, constantly, driven by feedback right from day one.
So all that frustration with the old, rigid way, it basically paved the road for something totally new. Around the mid-90s, this new way of thinking started to emerge, and they called it the Agile Model. And listen, this wasn't just some small adjustment. It was a complete, fundamental rethinking of how you build software in a world that changes in the blink of an eye.
Okay, so what is the Agile model really? To put it simply, it's about building things in small bite-sized pieces. So instead of one massive, high-stakes launch at the very end, you're delivering working software in little increments. This whole process of repeating and refining lets you adapt to changes on the fly and, most importantly, get real value to the customer way faster. That all sounds pretty great in theory, right? But how does it actually play out in the real world? Let's break down the Agile cycle and really see how all the pieces fit together.
Instead of thinking of a project as one long, grueling marathon, Agile breaks the work down into these short bursts called sprints. You can think of them as mini projects, usually lasting about 1 to 4 weeks. Now, inside every single sprint, the team goes through a full development cycle. They plan, they design, they build, and they test. And the goal? The goal is to have a real, tangible, working piece of the product at the end of every single cycle.
So each of these sprints follows a rhythm of 6 steps. It all kicks off with understanding what the customer actually needs. Then you design a solution for it, the team gets to work building it, and then it's tested like crazy to make sure it's solid. After that, a working version gets deployed so the user can actually see it and play with it. And right here, this is the magic part. The feedback you get from that deployment directly fuels the plan for the very next sprint. It's this beautiful, continuous loop of building, learning, and getting better each time.
But here's the thing you have to get about Agile. It's so much more than just a process. It's a philosophy. It's a mindset. And to really understand why it works so well, you've got to get the core principles that guide every single decision. So let's look at the thinking behind the model.
This whole philosophy is captured in a document called the Agile Manifesto, and it's all built on 12 core principles. Now don't worry, we're not going to go through all 12 of them, but let's just pull out a few that really get to the heart and soul of what Agile is all about.
First step, the number one priority is a happy customer, period. And the way Agile makes that happen isn't by promising some perfect, far-off product a year from now. No, it's by delivering valuable, working software in small, continuous chunks. It's all about showing real progress, not just talking about it.
Now here's a radical idea. What if change isn't the enemy? What if it's actually your friend? Agile totally embraces change. The goal is to be so flexible that you can pivot to a better idea, even super late in the game. It's about using change to give your customer a real competitive edge. It's a total game changer.
This next one is all about ruthless focus. Simplicity in the Agile universe means the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. I know, it sounds a little backwards, right? But it just means you channel all your energy into what truly absolutely matters, and you strip away everything else that's just noise. Of course, let's be realistic. No model is a silver bullet. Nothing is perfect. So for a really balanced picture, let's take an honest look at where Agile really shines and where it can sometimes fall a little short.
So, what are the huge wins with Agile? Well, first off, speed. Because you're delivering in small pieces, you can get a product out to the market way faster. That constant feedback loop with the customer means you're actually building what people want. Plus, collaboration is just baked into the whole process, and making changes is cheap because you catch things early, not a year later when it's too late.
But on the flip side, Agile definitely has its challenges. All that flexibility can come at a cost. The focus on working software over tons of formal documents can, sometimes create confusion later on. And the whole thing is highly dependent on your customer being engaged and giving clear feedback. If they're not, the process can just grind to a halt. And all that constant change makes it really hard to answer that classic question, so when's it going to be done and how much is it going to cost?
So you see, it really all comes down to a trade-off. Agile gives you incredible speed and the flexibility to build exactly what your customer dreams of, but it absolutely demands a customer who is right there in the trenches with you and a skilled, self-organizing team to make it all work. Which really leads us to the final and most critical question. Looking at those requirements, is Agile truly the right choice for your next project?
And that's the Agile model in a nutshell. It's such a powerful way of thinking about how we build things in a world that just refuses to stand still. Hey, if this explainer helped you get a better handle on it, hitting that like button and subscribing would be amazing. And I really want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments about your experiences with Agile. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.